get some fresh color today with Joe Rotella. So Joe, you always bring the best projects, and these are shiny and dimensional and super inventive.
And
so
nerdy.
Well,
nerdy.
yes, and you promised me easy, which I really,
Easy.
really like. So how are we gonna get started?
Well, why don't we get started by seeing what we're going to use for the base of the card. And I love foiled paper because of the shine, but it's a little thin to use for a card, so I wanted to stabilize it. I just took a piece of cardstock, put some double-sided adhesive tape. If you attach that, we can go ahead and get that cutting, and I can talk a little bit about how pop-ups work.
Easy, no problem. Okay, I'm just gonna peel off all of these and put this on here. I know.
So whenever I make a pop-up, I like to make a prototype first, just out of white paper, to make sure that everything's going to fit. The problem people have, you know, when you close it, sometimes the thing you're popping up sticks out the top, or it comes out the side, or it doesn't close right. So I always think it's a good idea to make a prototype first. The key is, how do you figure out how to place these things? And this is the very basic pop-up shape. It's called a box support, because if you look at what's holding up, see on the side view, you can see boxes. And the cool thing is a pop-up is triggered wherever there's a fold. So I have these boxes where this fold is, but notice there's another fold here. I could put another box. There's a fold here. I could put another box. There's a fold up here. So you could really
build it up. And am I choosing this one?
The card, yep.
Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead then and scan in this paper to make sure that I'm placing it properly.
So let's talk about how we're going to place this thing. We need to figure out the height and the width of our supports. So I like to use just a little scrap piece of paper. And here, you know, I need a support that's only as wide as, say, the center of this thing. And in terms of height, you know, I don't want to go all the way up to the detailed work. So it looks like just this scrap paper is just about the right height.
Perfect.
So I make a little note, height, so I don't screw this up.
Well, that's the thing is, like, you're talking about prototypes and making yourself notes. I think some people feel like they should just be able to do it and not have to think about it.
Not with a pop-up.
Yeah, you need a little bit of engineering.
So I've started here, and this is pre-cut, but I want to draw so you can see exactly what's going on. This is sort of the size of the overall card. And of course, in the center of the card, you're going to score it or fold it, right? So there's the center of my card. And
I love that you're not even trying to like draw like perfectly or use a ruler, or you're just, this is the eyeball prototype.
Exactly, exactly. So now we have to figure out, okay, where do we want this guy? And if we think of it from that center line, we could pop it out way out here, but look what happens when he closes, he would stick out.
I see. So you want to make sure that nothing is falling out of your card, essentially.
Exactly. So I'm going to stick him right about here. And again, that's going to be another score line. I'm just going to make a mark. So that's going to be the base of this, well, I typically call them a figure.
Okay.
Now we need to add the height. Well, luckily we've figured out exactly what that height is, right? So I'm going to go ahead and make another mark. And that's my other line. So that takes account how high this piece has to be to hold him up. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
But now we need to adjust for the space that we shifted him down, right? So just take this same scratch and say, okay, it's about that much. Now I'm going to go up here.
I love that your incredible measuring tool is a piece of paper.
Look at that.
I mean, it's true, you don't need a ruler, because this is not about that it has to be like ½ an inch or ¼ inch. It's that it has to be a particular distance which you just mark. And that just makes it so much easier because there's no math.
Exactly.
There's engineering without math.
Exactly. So now where are we going to cut? Well, we don't want to cut where we're folding. We're just going to cut the sides, because if you look at this box support, there's really only 2 cuts. It just makes that strip, right? So I've got a big cut right here, a big cut right here.
So it's interesting, you're color coding this for yourself too. I'm just trying to learn all your, you know,
these are my little
mind tricks here so that I can figure this out for myself.
Obviously, we're going to cut out the whole card shape.
And look, by the way, I'm already done cutting, but if I'm looking at what you're doing and I'm looking at what I have here, I can see, if I just flip this around, right, the real similarities between what you're doing and what I have here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I've done the same thing for this little support, right? So I knew I wanted this figure in front of this figure. So I decided, what about here? Well, let's see. Will he close? Yeah, he's going to close just fine. So again, I'm going to do my little dots.
That same process.
And my little dots for the height. And then I had to take into account he's this far away from the fold. And I'm going to cut my 2 lines.
And look, you have something that looks identical
There you go.
to what I have right here, which is super cool.
The only thing we have to be careful of is this we don't actually want to score. That's the height of our
Because that's the
support.
fold line, and I can see that where you've skipped here, skip, here, skip, here. So then once I have it in this form, I know like some folds have to go one way and some folds have to go the other way.
So I'm going to just start with the card shape, right? That's the bottom, the center folds, remember?
Okay.
And at the same time, we're going to be a little tricky here and push out that box support. And it's a little tough once you get it started.
I was going to say also, I think like the score lines certainly help you so that you're not having to like really force it.
Yeah, and now you just have to kind of play the first time you're doing this. Once you fold it one time, he's going to fold.
It is folded. And that's one of the really nice things about pop-ups. I mean, that's why they work, is because the second that the recipient opens it, they're opening it on the fold lines that you've already taken the time to create.
So now I'm going to just fold it down, and we're going to make sure that everybody is doing what it's supposed to do.
Tucked in and where you want them to be.
Right. So let's see what we have here.
Cool.
And the folds are very tight because we use the electronic cutting machine, which is what gives you a tremendous amount of precision. I mean, that's really why I love pop-up cards, is I love...
Well, you love precision. I've known you as a crafter forever, and you like things to be just so. And I actually think it's one of the reasons we craft together so well, because I'm always like, ugh, whatever, I can't be bothered. And you're like, no, Julie, we've got to measure.
So look at that. There's our box supports.
So cute.
Now, I wanted a special background here that kind of reminded me a little bit of space.
Okay.
So I have some alcohol inks.
Now, alcohol inks are usually used on a non-porous surface, so something like foil is the perfect. Now, you just put something clear on there.
Just plain alcohol, and you know, you can even, I can even squirt some on here. You can see it. Can you see it start to react?
I can see it. That's crazy. So the alcohol actually just changes. You're not even using any color to change this? That's so weird. I guess it's taking the finish off or something?
Yeah, and look.
Neat.
But now, if we want to add just a little bit of color, because we're down to silver there, I'm just going to put a little bit of blue.
So you don't have to like clean that pad or anything.
Yeah, and I peel the pads off and I try to keep them, you know, to reuse as long as I'm using similar colors. If you put yellow here.
Right, then that would blend with the other colors.
And I just want to add a little bit of color.
And now you have this magical purple sky.
I have a galaxy.
Yeah, so cool.
Which is what I was going for. So we have the base done. Now, I've already cut out the shape of my figures.
Okay.
And again, I wanted something a little stiff, so here I put the foiled paper on cardstock. Here, it's just the foiled paper.
Okay.
But if we just lay this on this.
Blue on blue is a little bit hard to see.
So how about this? Let's take the bottom layer, sandpaper.
I would not think of sanding foil, but I assume, I mean, foil's metal. That makes sense, actually. It's going to react in a lot of the same ways. And I can see that you're getting to a really cool silvery color now.
But now, look.
Oh my gosh, it even looks like the glass in the phone booth.
So I've got that there, and then I think I have a little piece, if not I can cut them, of some gold that we can use to make windows.
Oh, you're really, this is one of the things I appreciate so much about the work that you do, is everything is so detailed and you take the time to really, really think about every last detail on your project.
You would say detailed, and others would say you're fussy.
Well, it's like anything. It's a matter of perspective, right? I think of it as a positive because your projects turn out so well.
Now, I've already put some double-sided adhesive tape here, and I have no fingernails. So here's another little trick.
And here you are, Superhero Joe, managing to get that off.
Use this little pin. Another little trick.
I feel like there are lots of great tools like that that you don't think about that are just laying around.
Well, and I have a toolbox, a tackle box, that I keep all this kind of stuff in, so that if I'm traveling and crafting, I'm like totally ready to go.
You've got it.
And awesome. It has a pin, and it has double-sided tape, and
all the things that you need. And now when we layer those two parts together, I can see that the scratching, the gold, it adds so much to the piece. It really gives it depth.
You know, and if you really know this phone booth, you know that it's labeled and it says it's a police box. Look at that tiny
So
sticker.
did you just print that out of your computer?
I printed it on sticker paper.
Okay.
And then, of course, I used the electronic cutting machine, and I set it to be a half cut or
Okay.
a kiss cut. So it only cut the sticker part, and it did not cut the carrier sheet that's underneath it.
So once we have our police box assembled and our figure assembled, I assume we just glue them to the flat part of each of these pops.
Yeah, let's put one on.
And if we go ahead, that's...
And you never want to put it right down to the base.
Okay.
Raise it about 1/16 of an inch because it will get caught.
Okay. And if we look at the finished one, you can see how fantastic it looks, all of that detail. Joe, this is such a fun project. Thank you so much for sharing it.